What's good? Social media universe. It's old head. That's OLE. Back again with the Mars perspective. And once again, I'm back on the Conway and Funk Flex thing that's just spiraling out of control. Like, it's crazy to me. And again, I stand by everything that Conway is expressing. And I feel, many are suffering from like a comprehensive like barrier of really just understanding what was being said and what was said, you know what I mean, and taking it out of context. And I only support what Conway is saying because of the fact factor. You know what I mean? A lot of people are coming from perspectives on how they feel about the situation. And that's not my stance at all. I'm going with the facts. You know what I mean? But, over the last couple of days, I've been seeing a lot of people, speaking on a lot of different things. I'm hearing people making it seem like Conway is bitter. That's the number one thing that I'm taking away from a lot of the content that I'm hearing. And I really don't, I'm not getting that. Like, I'm really not. That's why I keep going back to the comprehensive and out of context thing because he don't sound bitter. He sound like he's making a point. Like I think it was just 2 points that he was making, and the number one point is that Flex is out of touch. You know what I mean with the hip hop and the artists in his region, which Flex ultimately proved in all his rebuttals back addressing anything that Conway said. You know what I mean? He didn't know he went on a world tour. He didn't know that Griselda didn't get dropped from Shady. They fulfilled the obligations of their contract. You know what I mean? Like he just saying things. He's ranting and people are spinning it, trying to make it seem like Conway's ranting or he's bitter and unhappy with Funkmaster Flex and Hot 97. You know what I mean? But like again, like I said, I think his first point is to show that Funk Flex is totally, 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 totally out of touch with the hip hop in his region and the artists in his region. You know what I mean? And second, his second point, I believe is what he's saying that like New York artists need to restore the New York sound by removing people like Flex who are no longer preserving that sound. You know what I mean? Like you go out to all these other regions and you listen to music. Like I don't know if people are not traveling or whatever, but if you go out to other regions, they are not playing New York artists that are not mainstream pop artists, not just mainstream. Dude, like you have to, or you have, if you from New York, like you almost have to be a pop artist at a pop level of mainstream in order to get played in other regions, like people like Cardi B, Nicki. You know what I mean? Yeah, like that's pop. Even though they hip hop, they that it's pop. It's a pop level. You know what I mean of hip hop. So you go to these other regions. Like again, like I said, I don't know if people not trap. That's another reason why the perception of New York is that New York hip hop fell off because you be in other regions and you be talking like New York hip hop ain't fall off. You got this person and they like I was just in New York. They playing this. They playing this same music right here that we hearing down here right now, and they be correct. You know what I mean? Like you can't argue that point. You know what I mean? Because the DJs in New York are not supporting the artists in their region unless it's trendy or it's getting played in other regions by other regions. So the New York sound is not being preserved. It's not being held in any regard by any other regions either. You know what I mean? That's why people be thinking that New York fell off. You know what I mean? It's just the DJs. They not even playing their own artists. And these other artists is definitely these other regions are definitely playing their artists and people that are coming from their artists from their areas and their regions. along with the popular and the trendy music too. You know what I mean? So straight up, Flex is wild, and like I think that's the only 2 points he was making. Like I don't understand what people is not understanding about what Conway is saying. Like Griselda's successful. Like it's like they are successful. Like he's not asking for radio spins. Like real talk, it's crazy. He never asked for radio spins. He never asked for radio to play Griselda, and nothing that he said, like in the very beginning, he never said that. Like it to me, it just seemed like he was speaking to an audience. He was telling the audience, like, yo, new artists coming up, if y'all want to break through on radio and want to get your shit played on radio, y'all better get Funk Flex out the way, and people like him because he gonna hinder the process because he's only playing pop, like he out of touch. He not hearing what's hot because clearly Griselda is the hottest thing going as far as New York representation. Period. Like I don't care what nobody, they're like Mav Hoffa said on his show. You know what I mean? They're at the number where they at the top of the list. They the number one people that people are gonna refer to when they are asked who's hot from New York right now or who brought New York hip hop back and all. They're gonna top the list. You know what I mean? Over and over again. Period. So with that being said, it's other obviously it's hot. New York has hot artists. You know what I mean? And other artists that are following the Griselda blueprint that have that same type of sound. And he's speaking to them people like, yo, if y'all want to get on and break through, you know what I mean, on radio, y'all better start getting rid of people like Flex because he's not going to support it. You see the road we took. We doing it without all that. But I'm just telling you, if that's your plan, if you want to break through on radio, you better get rid of these people who are not looking down at the grass, who are looking at the ground level of hip hop and artists in New York, and bringing them up and breaking them. Get rid of them people because they only gonna play what's trendy. That's what he said. He didn't ask for no spins or nothing. He said y'all need to remove like yo, y'all need to remove these New York DJs. That's not. He said it. So he's speaking to an audience. He's not saying spring Griselda. Like he's saying, yo, who if you are artist, like yo, y'all need to remove these people. He already good. They good without radio. You talking to artists who need radio, obviously. That's the first misconception right there. Is that he's speaking for Griselda in terms of radio. Like that was the first misconception right there. People just start putting legs on anything and just running with it. Like you gotta listen to the conversation. That if you really gonna speak on it, just listen to it. You know what I mean? Like straight up. You can't be just, oh, he said this. Nah, he ain't say that. He's not asking for no help with the Griselda movement. And then, people talking about the Griselda movement peaked out and it's at its peak and it's here and it's there. How? Like it's relevant right now. We talking about it right now in current time, like right now in present time. Like how is it over with? It especially looking at knowing at the talent level. For, Forget the run they had. You know what I mean? Because they've had a run. The talent level that brought the run. How do you just think that's going to disappear? Haven't we seen artists reinvent themselves over and over and over again? Like you have to look at the people that's bringing it to you sometimes. Like he's very well aware that Griselda has core fans. He's talking about the murals. He's talking about, and he's speaking about all of this. So he knows where his fan base lies. He knows how to get his bag. Like they getting it. Like I don't understand. Like you gotta listen. He's talking to other artists coming up. Like yo, y'all want to break, which makes sense. Remove those people, yo. If they not gonna support the region and the artists in it, like remove them, get them out of there. Don't make, don't make. If these DJs are not gonna take time to support you to make you relevant, don't make them relevant by feeling like you need to go up the flex for him to drop bombs on your shit for to be successful. Stop mentioning these people. Stop acting like they the way to go when really they're not. That's another thing that he spoke on. Conway spoke on the fact that yo, we really don't need y'all now. Like really, at this point, like he's almost saying like yo, it's almost out of love that we even, still, keeping this going for y'all when we in our moment, when we have any artist, not just him, any artist, it's out of love when an artist is in their moment and they take time to go up the radio and sit down with any DJ, whether it's Flex or whoever, because they're in their moment. And now when you in your moment, you don't need no radio. You don't need to be sitting next to a radio personality because at most times your moment is not coming from that. It's coming from the internet, Apple, iTunes. You know what I mean? Tidal, whatever. It's coming from that. And you done broke the internet some kind of way, and you don't need to sit next to nobody. So at this point, he's correct. Like you don't need to sit next to nobody. So he talking to new artists who are trying to go a particular route. You know what I mean? And also, removing people who ain't supporting that. You know what I mean? Like I don't understand how people just got everything so misconstrued. Like it's crazy, but a lot of again people just be running and just be wanting to go and put legs on anything. Like no disrespect, you know what I mean, to SO from my expert opinion. Shout to my expert opinion, man. Pop for everybody over there. Everything that they doing is no disrespect to nobody, but we gotta be holding people accountable for the things that they say and the things that they do. And when they were speaking about it, you know what I mean, like number one, Math was holding it down. Real talk. Like he spoke on it again. He said the same thing I said. Like when it comes to restoring New York and New York hip hop and all that, there's nobody but Griselda that's top of that list. That's bottom line. You know what I mean? And then, just everything that Matt was saying, that shit was on point, 100%. Like real talk. But the brother Esso, like when you start speaking on things, like he threw out the fact that his first thing he said was, "Oh, yo, they don't be doing shows like that." And they was like, "Nah, yes they do. They be touring all over. They be doing." Then his next thing was, "Well, the type of shows they be doing." You know what I mean? Like you can't be doing that. Like if you don't know, like don't even throw it out there because if you throw something out there and somebody deflect it with some truth, don't go to the next step to try to hire the level of what you said to say, yo, well they didn't do the nah, leave that part of that's not part of the argument no longer. Because you wrong there. So just leave that part out. Then you turned around and did the same thing with the locks. Like, yo, these are and Jada, wrong. Knock yourself out. Ride or die chick. Wildin' out. Like I get high, locked up, money, power, respect. These is all Jada and Lock songs. Like these is all songs that was on the radio. Like we have to stop doing it. If you don't know, or you're not sure, we can't be just blurting things out of emotions and trying to argue a point and no, you wrong. That was a bad example. They was not the ones to use there. Like you should have thought better than that. You know what I mean? And then another thing with the the whole way that you presented the argument of them being from Buffalo and they need to argue this and their region clearly and it's obviously supporting them. They done been to Bull Stadium, been welcome to play at Buffalo supporting them. And it's again, it's not about that. It's not about arguing with radio to support them, but your expression during that period about how they from Buffalo they need to go. Listen, man, hip hop in New York is really just the regions that Flex is broadcasting to. You know what I mean? Like, and especially inside of New York, if motherfuckers is nice. We know what we looking for, but the New York audience knows what it's looking for. Motherfuckers is nice, and they doing it a certain way, like how these dudes is doing it. It really don't matter where motherfuckers is from. Like real talk, the fact that you're saying because they're not the five from the five boroughs as an argument was just ridiculous. And the way that you was expressing it was crazy. It was almost like a personal thing. Like these dudes is hotter than dudes from the five boroughs right now, obviously, on an underground level, and on other levels too, because people throwing out the mainstream artists that they work with, Kanye, Jay Z, or so. Like that was just that don't make no sense. And again, these not one time did he express or ask for any assistance or help with the Griselda movement and what they was doing? Like I don't even know where that's coming from. Like people was talking about they not making records for the radio, they don't make club this. He's not saying that they need to change their sound or he wants to or they making these type of records and they're not being played. He's not saying none of that. He's talking to artists who are really just not in the know and maybe trying to take a certain route. And he know the sound they got, or he hearing the sound because he said in his music about how people is tracing the Griselda sound and all these different artists now are sounding like that. Which I'm sure it's coming up on a bigger scale that he hear and see with the underground shit than everybody the mainstream. You know what I mean? So he know that this shit of people are seeing that this shit work for us, motherfuckers doing. So he's talking to motherfuckers that's trying to come up behind them doing the same shit. Like, yo, listen, now motherfuckers want to use radio because y'all thinking that's what's going on, that's what's gonna do it for you. Then y'all better start removing these niggas right here because if you don't, you just gonna be stuck. You know what I mean? And you're gonna be sitting around bigging these niggas up. And meanwhile, every time your name come up, these niggas is gonna broadcast you off like if they don't even know you. They gonna use you as a shadow. You know what I mean? That's what I got from everything he was saying. Like all that other shit, I just feel like niggas is taking that shit out of context. Real talk. And then, you know, the dude Flex, man, like his whole rant on Pete Rock was just ridiculous. That's another thing that's wrong with the internet. Like people be sitting around and speaking on things that they really not qualified to speak on. And I really think academics kind of set the trend for that. Like people be sitting around just saying anything about anybody anywhere in public broadcasting it off, saying things like, "Yo, Pete Rock is a snitch" or whatever. Which, if he is or he isn't, or whatever the incident took place, or any of that, right? It really almost don't matter coming from Flex because you and him are really the same people. Y'all civilians. Like if somebody do something to Flex, you're expected to call the police, dude. Like nobody's thinking that Flex is gonna gear up and go handle this shit. Like, so you and him are the same person, which makes you unqualified to call him a snitch or even speak about him snitching. Like, that's just real. Like, everybody be talking this street shit, street code, street this, street that. If, if it's really the water's just boiled out the pot and it's on some street shit, then you're unqualified to speak because you're not a street person. So you unqualified to be speaking on this shit. And this shit is just going on more and more with anybody on the internet just calling anybody, yo, this person's a rat or this person's a snitch or this person. And it's really, in a lot of ways, that shit is really like putting our youth in the wrong set of mind on different shit and certain consequences concerning certain shit, which that's a whole nother topic. But just speaking on Flex, just talking about like this dude spoke on some music shit with you and his personal feelings on how he felt with you from a music standpoint, like who you are as in a representation of the music, and then you went and started calling him a rat and talking about him getting beat up and this and that and none of that. And this is no disrespect against Pete Rock either, but I don't think nobody ever thought Pete Rock was no thug or nothing anyway. So if he did get jumped or somebody dissing, like I don't think nobody had the impression that Pete Rock is again like you. Flex was going to be the guy that was going. We could see him gearing up, and he might be that guy. You know what I mean? But I don't think that's the overall impression that people who have been watching his hip hop career has gotten from him. So you bringing it up or you even talk about that shit is corny. Like it's more corny Flex shit. You always calling other niggas bozos, but you the main one walking around doing bozo shit. Like that shit is crazy. Like if you don't be knowing what you talking about, you just don't know what the fuck. When niggas say you out the loop and your rebuttal every time you come back is showing that you out the fucking loop by making comments like they got dropped from motherfucking Shady and that these niggas ain't going on tour and who knows them and all. Then and just showing that you out the loop. Like don't come to start thinking this shit out. You know what I mean? Like people have to really, everybody like really have to start thinking things out before they just start saying shit because it starts looking crazy. You know what I mean? Like real talk. And that's the Mars perspective, man. I'm up out of this motherfucker.